What's one comeback you've used in life that was so smooth you still grin when you think back on it? I was at a comedy club and got up to use the bathroom, which was directly behind the stage. As I walked back to my table, the comedian on stage waved at the curtain behind him and said, "You know, behind this curtain is a one-way mirror. We were all watching you in there." In an uncharacteristic moment of confidence and wit, I turned to him and said, "Yes. I heard the applause." Someone said I got a $2 hand job from your sister. I said she's charging $1 an inch now. Hot. I was a witness to a murder in which I was one of the people that they tried to kill. Years later after it happened, I get a call I needed to testify as they had caught the assholes. After several minutes of questioning, the DA asked me what I was thinking after they shot at me. Thinking to myself, how you answer a blatantly obvious and ridiculous question. The only response I could come up with was "Shti." The entire court started laughing, including not only every juror, but the DA, the defense attorney, and the judge. Even the stenographer was laughing so hard she stopped typing. I'm fairly certain I'll never get another zinger like that again. Beautiful. Also, congrats on not being murdered. In middle school, this dude threatened to throw me in a dumpster. I replied I wouldn't want to impose on your family, but thanks. And then he attacked. I really liked anime, and so bullies in school often taunted me with bullshit about Pokemon. One day in math class, a guy turned around and said, "I've caught all the Pokemon. What about you?" Me. "Really? Have you caught chlamydia yet?" Him. "Of course I have." Best part was, a girl in front of him turned around and said, "Dude, that's a vaginal disease." He looked so ashamed. My friend broke up with his girlfriend, drunk at a party. She yelled at him for having a small dick. His counter? "It would have been bigger if you ever got me hard." Instant classic. A female friend of mine and I got subs at Subway one afternoon. She went with one of the expensive dealies. She says for $9. I will wait every day of my life for a girl to say that just so I could steal your line. I'm getting ready to leave happy hour and see that my coat is still on the bar stool that I was at earlier, but now is being sat on by the CEO. And my bag was on the bar next to him. So I walk over and somewhat sheepishly, I was pretty low on the totem pole, say excuse me to get my coat, and when I go to grab my bag, he grabs it and says, winking at the CFO, "It's cool. We've already been through your bag. There's no money in there." Without even thinking I said, "Yeah. We're gonna have to have a talk about that." They burst out laughing, and after that, I was cool with the CEO. True story. Not mine but my sister's. She was about 4 and wanting to play kitchen in her room. She grabbed some cereal boxes from the kitchen and put them in her room. My mother, in trying to explain why it wasn't acceptable, said the cereal will bring ants. "Do you want ants in your room?" My sister, not missing a beat, replied, "Do you want ants in your kitchen?" This story still gets brought up at family gatherings 20 plus years later. My friend was singing a Christmas carol in school once and this girl yelled, "Christmas is over." To which he immediately replied, "So's Halloween." I was flirting with a girl that was quite a bit taller than me at a bar. The girl dismissively said, "I've got at least 6 inches on you." Without missing a beat, I replied, "That's okay. I've got at least 7 inches on you." She laughed, bought me a drink. 15 centimeters. Throwaway. Arguing with my ex's sister. She asked, "Where do you get off?" I said, "Oh hell no." I was conversing with a friend about video games in the school cafeteria when a loud, overweight girl starts, loudly, talking about how all guys who play video games are nerds. I shoot her a look and say, "I guess I'm a nerd." Then she rolls her eyes and says, "Tell me something I don't know." Freak. Off the top of my head I reply, "Salad tastes good." I work in a supplement store. One night, As I was nearing the end of my shift and getting tired of talking to people, a young guy and his buddy walk in and the guy decides he's going to be MR. Funny man and make jokes about all the products. I hate when people do this. Because A, the jokes are never funny, and B, I've heard them all before. So after humoring a few somewhat obnoxious quips from him, the guy grabs a fat burner off the shelf and holds it up at me. "Oh, look at this one. Hey, miss, is this gonna make me look way better?" To which I replied, without missing a beat, "I really hope so." His buddy and the other guys in the store just started cracking up. I hadn't meant to sound so bitchy. Just sort of came out that way. I never think of a comeback in time. So this was incredibly unusual for me. I'm standing outside a restaurant, waiting for friends to arrive. A guy walks up to me and asks, "Are you the valet?" Me, grinning, "What kind of car do you have?" He laughed too. These exchanges are what makes it nice to be a social animal. I'm usually a SAP, but I was sitting in a coffee shop with some friends, plus a few people I didn't know. The girls in the group started talking about the types of guys they are into. This girl I just met said I don't know what it is, but I really love when guys are dicks to me. And before she could finish her next sentence, I say, "Holy shit. Are you still talking?" Everyone looked at me like in complete shock, but the girl gave me a grin of approval. No, that's a common misconception. Actually, you were a misconception. 7th grade. My mom called me a son of a bitch and I responded with "I know I am." Edit. I'm pretty sure I was in elementary school if that adds to smoothness of it. My mom once called my brother a son of a bitch and I said, "Don't you talk about my mom like that." Not sure if it counts, but a few years ago when I was a checker at Safeway, a man and his son come up to my line. They start unloading their cart and I quickly grab each item as they place it on the belt. It's a very large cart and we both start going faster until he asks if we're now racing. I tell him that if he wants to, I'm more than happy to win. He gives me a smile and both the dad and the kid start throwing things on the belt and I'm still keeping up. He looks at me and just says, "Your overconfidence will be your weakness." And without even a half-second delay I give my best decrepit voice and reply apparently quite loudly, "Your faith in your friends is yours." He just stops dead in his tracks and we both start cracking up along with most of the lines around us, as well as all my co-workers who heard it. I was proud of myself for weeks after that happened and I still don't think I've ever been that quick-witted since. Edit. A friend jokingly threatens me by saying, "Let me show you a trick I learned in the NAM." I respond, "Two problems with that one. I don't have any ping pong balls, and 2. Getting the standard "Hayes the new guy" treatment at a fast food place. The guy training me, had games that revolved around groping the new guys, was watching me learn grills and commenting on my big hands. I'm 6'8". "Man, you have big hands. You can hardly hold those tongs. Must suck, right? I bet it's hard to jack off like that. You find it hard to masturbate with those big hands." Raffle Harris? I'm here just taking it and trying to concentrate on the work and half-heartedly mumble, "S all in proportion, mate," and he is just gobsmacked. Fairly sure I earned his respect with that one comeback. That said, he was hardly a guy who needed the approval of. He later got booted for making out with an underage employee at the Christmas party. I was in middle school. This one guy, let's call him Ben, was bullying the fat kid in my grade in the locker room after our gym period, while everyone was changing. Let's call the chubby guy Chris. What was strange was this bully was smaller than Chris but still managed to push him around and make him feel like shitty. At one point he cornered Chris and just kept acting like he was about to take a swing at him, just waiting for Chris to wince or flinch. I was really annoyed at how little of a FCK everyone was giving about this, so I went to the bully who was my size and just pushed him against the wall. He punched me on my arm and just said, "FCK off Hindugiru. Your mother is a CNT." Honestly, I don't know how I thought of this, but I almost immediately responded saying, "Tell your mom to stop changing her lipstick." My dick is turning rainbow. Cause we were in middle school, everyone just went you on. Ben just shut his ass up and went back to his locker. Me, do you have any white oat? My prof, no. Douchebag meeting me for the first time. Nice glasses. In a horrible kind of way. Me. Nice first impression. Followed by about a minute of silent unblinking eye contact. Was he negging you? I had this lime green button-up shirt in college. And it was just kinda bright and attention grabbing. Whenever I wore it, girls would tell me about how much they love it and how good I looked in it. One night I was out with my roommate's girlfriend and some of her friends, and this short jackass who felt the need to prove himself said, "Hey, nice gay green shirt." My roommate's GF, who was f***ing hilarious and gorgeous, replied right on beat, "That shirt makes me want to suck his dick." Then her friend I had never met said, "Me too." They didn't actually want to, but it was awesome and he shut the hell up. Walking home from high school in the summer, and some fat kid and his friends saw me from across the street. The fat kid yells, "You have huge tits." To which I responded, "Not as big as yours," and gave him a nice little smile and walked away as his friends laughed at him. The first time my dad left bruises on me, hitting me and holding me down by my neck to keep me from fighting back. He made some comments similar to, "Apparently I'm going to have to limit your visitation rights with your mother." He thought she was the reason for my recent argument with his bitch of a girlfriend at the time. I looked him dead in the eye, tears streaming down my face, and said, "No. Dad's name. There is only one thing that is apparent here, and it is most certainly not you." I was 14. Back when the Wii came out, I thought it was a good idea to camp outside Best Buy for the weekend to make sure I could get one on release day. I talked a guy friend of mine into coming with, and the guys who were in line behind us seemed to think that, as a girl, I was only there at the behest of my friend. They were a bit inept, so I helped them set up their tent the first night. For the rest of the weekend, they repaid me by making stupid comments regarding my female qualities and generally being dicks. After spending the first night sitting in camping chairs out in the open, I had my mom bring us a tent for the second night. My friend and I were about to retreat into our newly assembled tent when one of the guys behind us said, "Enjoy your Ruffin L tent SX." To which I smiled and replied, "Thanks. You too." This wasn't particularly brilliant, but it happened recently enough that I can still remember it as I sit here on my ratty futon on a Friday night, drinking and red-eyeting. I was walking my dog in the middle of a really narrow, almost empty sidewalk. I saw an elderly lady approaching me, so I started to get off to the side to let her pass. As we got closer to each other, she scowled at me and said, "Oh, excuse me. Where are you going?" "Just to the park over there." "Why do you ask?" "Well, you need to stay the hell on the right when you're walking." It was a beautiful, perfect day, but all she could focus on was the fact that I was walking in a way that was not totally to her liking. I looked at her with the biggest tea-eating grin I could muster, and cooed, "Oh, you're so old and angry." And I walked off. Oh yeah? Well, the jerk store just called. They're all out of you. I was joking around with a substitute in one of my classes. I knew him from outside of school. We were talking about girlfriends or something, and he had said something, so I yell out to him, "Your mother doesn't count." To which he replied, "Well, she's an accountant. So yeah, she does." I had to give him a brofist for it. Had about 13 shots of tequila at my mother's birthday party. A man that was interested in her showed up. He was the stereotypical redneck. Very narrow-minded. Conservative Republican. Judgmental. Stubbornly and willfully ignorant. Falsely quoted the Bible. Etc. Anyway, he made the mistake of talking to me. He kept boasting about how he's a proud redneck, but tried to tell me that there were classy rednecks and trashy breeds. My response was, "Oh, I wonder what's the difference between the two? Do the classy rednecks frame their Confederate flags instead of using them as curtains?" It was a fantastic night. I'm normally a very polite girl. I hope you die angry. I have a paraplegic friend who was complaining about how terrible Captain Morgan rum was. I looked him straight in the eye and said, you just don't like it cause you can't do the pose. We both had a good laugh over it. Anytime I'm in my girlfriend's way, she tells me move. So then I do a cheesy, stupid little childlike dance. When my partner tells me to make him a sandwich, I say poof. You're a sandwich. Probably going to get buried. But I was at a New Year's party at my uncle's house. One of my uncle's friend was making fun of my dog, a dachshund, and said, "You can tell a lot about a man by the size of his dog." I replied with, "Well, you have a cat." "Yeah. Well, FCKU too," said in reply to, "Sorry. I only have vanilla ice cream. No chocolate." Mine was in grade 6. It wasn't even a comeback to an insult. I just hated this chick. I'm a girl. This chick. Duh. What do you look for in a guy? Me. Why? Are you getting a S exchange? The class of grade 6S went crazy and it was my crowning moment. When I was like 10, I told my mom a better way she should be dealing with my little brother. She said I could give her advice when I'm a perfect mother. I said she could tell me what to do when she's the perfect brother. She stopped bitching and went away. That was my only win. Some religious zealot was preaching in the quad. A large crowd had gathered to watch. I was on the way back from class with my friends and we decided to stop and watch him. Jesus will come a second time and it will be glorious. Me. It's always glorious when you come a second time. FCKU. Clown. I was on a crowded bus with my friend one time when we were confronted by a girl from our high school. She was drunk and began to go off about how my friend had treated her horribly in high school because she used to be fat. She had recently lost a lot of weight and was clearly proud of it because she then went on to say so that the whole bus heard her. "Well, look at me now. What do you have to say about me now?" To which my friend just replied, "I guess elephants never forget." The entire bus lost it. Her face was priceless. Once whilst happily playing CS, some guy who was getting more than a little stomped on by me said, "Go suck a dick, fag." He apparently did not realize that I was female. So I immediately responded without even thinking, "Go lick a CNT, dyke." Everyone laughed, including him. He wasn't such a bad guy after all, and good times ensued. I didn't really realize until shortly afterwards the full irony of what I said. But of course I played it off like I'm really that witty. All in all, a win. I was a store manager at electronics boutique a long time ago. And a customer brings us a controller that a dog had chewed through the cord. He bought it the previous day. And he wanted his money back. I wouldn't do it. And my employee looks at him and said, "We can't refund this. You didn't buy our wireless controller." This guy is swearing out loud about us and it's during a really busy time. He threw the controller at my employee. And I tell him to leave. He gets right up in front of my face and said, "FCKU." I looked him in the eyes and replied, "FCKME? No. FCKU. Get the FCK out of my store. Full stop." He looked stunned and left. TLDR. I was a store manager who told off a customer. And I won. This kind of thing drives me crazy. Vote for a good comeback. I always want to tell people in this situation, look. I don't care how badly you want to FCK me. You can't afford it. Take a picture and go jack off outside. Once someone insulted me. And I couldn't think of anything quick. He said, "Nice comeback," and I replied with, "If you want my comeback you can wipe it off your mother's face." Funny how classic British comedian Jimmy Carr overheard that one and made it nationally famous by using it on tour recently. Lots of fiction in this thread. Last year my friend and I were walking out of class and we were having those dumb meaningless friend arguments where she said, "Huh? Suck my dick." Me. "Shut up, you don't even have one." "Huh? It's longer than yours." Me. "I was gonna tell you a joke about my dick but it's too long. I felt like a badass saying that snappy comeback." "Huh? I was gonna tell you a joke about my vagina but you won't get it." She left me speechless and really impressed. Apparently I was acting goofy at school from being sleep deprived because of a project I put off. Someone asked me how many fingers he had up and I flipped him off and said this many. Probably not all that funny being read. Actually that is pretty good. I'm stealing this and not citing sources when I do it.